Talking to Leon White, also known around the world as Big Van Vader, coming to me from where you at, Leon? You in Boulder, Colorado today?
Boulder, Colorado, buddy.
God dang, man, we've been talking about getting together on a podcast and shooting a breeze, and you reached out to me through an email, and it was so good to hear from you because I've been wanting to get you on the show and just really basically wondering in general how you were doing because I hadn't heard from you in so many years. How you feeling right now?
Steve, I'm feeling good. I mean, I'm probably in better shape than I've been in the last 20 years. Physically, mentally, things are going well. You know, I'm in the gym every day, and I'm on the road a little bit here, so things are going good. And you know, talking about knowing you, how long do we go back? We met in the
early '90s in WCW, and I don't even remember the first time we met. Do you?
No, I know, buddy. Tell me.
No, I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember we hit it off, and man, you had a hell of a run in WCW as the lead heel. But we're just shooting a breeze on a family-friendly show. There's going to be an S-bomb here or there drop, but we're not going to drop any F-bombs while we're talking on this hour. Man, I want to go back to your beginnings because, you know, hell, I'd forgot. You know, you've been from Boulder, Colorado for so long, or living out in that area. You know, I just assumed that's where you were from, but little did I know that you were born in L.A.
I was born in Compton, California. Actually, I was the hospital, St. Francis Hospital in Linwood, but we were living in Compton. And tell you what, buddy, you grew up fast in that part of Los Angeles in the 60s. You got consumed.
Now, quite frankly, I mean, you know, Compton's, you don't get a whole lot of white folks living in Compton. But back in the 60s, were there a lot more white people in Compton at the time?
Yeah, you know, it was probably about a 60-40 deal.
Right.
And my mother had an aunt that lived there. She had a big, nice home in Compton. And my mother had her sister, my aunt. And we kind of settled next to her. And my dad was working. He was a Navy diver, and he could weld underwater, so he worked down in San Pedro, and from Compton, that was just 10, 15 minutes away, so it was a good spot for us to live, and we lived right there on the boulevard, right next to Compton College, and, you know, when we got there when I was a young kid, it was a nice place to live, and as time went on, it got more dominant in terms of, you know, a lot of I really don't know how to say this, but a lot of the white people were leaving town, and the neighborhood was becoming more of a black neighborhood. And you know, it was a rough place to grow up. I mean, you know, you wanted to live in Compton, California, you had to earn it. Let's put it that way.
Well, how long were you there? Because you went to Bell High School, right? Because that's not Compton High School. How'd you end up over at Bell?
My father, he invented that electric hoist where they hoist cars up and work on the mufflers underneath?
Yeah.
Okay, well, my dad actually invented that and sold it for, I think, $2,000 to a couple guys, and then they became millionaires. And my dad had actually built the first one because he was a welder, and he was getting in those pits. What they used to do is drive cars over a little pit in the ground, and you'd get in there and lay on your back and weld these mufflers and fix them and stuff like that. And he kind of was, he was a smart man and pretty creative in those types of things. And he built this hoist, and it just lifted it up, and you could stand there and cut this thing off and work. And he didn't know what he had, and he sold it, and guys mass-produced that and, you know, made millions of dollars in Los Angeles, you know, and all these muffler shops across the country now got them. So we were doing pretty well, and he was making good money. We moved out to Anaheim and bought one of those little houses. You know, they had tore down one of those orange groves and built some real small single-family homes, and then from there we migrated back to Bell, and where I went to school at Bell High.
Now, dude, you've always been a big guy. We were talking earlier, and your mother was like 4 feet, how many inches tall?
Well, my mom, God bless her, Steve, thank you for bringing that up. She's the love of my life, I'll tell you what. She's 4'10", and just tougher than nails, and she's 87-year-old today. She walks a half hour a day. She'll outlive me, that's for sure. But
where's she living now?
She lives in Sonora, California.
Okay.
Up there, my sister and brother up there, and it's a little mountain town, just a couple hours north of Sacramento, and they like it up there. It's about 3,500 feet, so they don't get much snow, and it's a little bit cooler in the summers. You know, Sacramento gets pretty hot now, and they're doing great. But anyway, she's 4'10", and the doctor grabbed my dad and said, "Hey, we don't know what you got in there, but it's big, and you need to come out now." So at 7 months and 3 weeks, I came out at 10 pounds and 16 ounces and 23.5 inches long. And I guess the thinking on that was, if they did not induce labor when they did, that it probably would have killed my mom, giving me birth. I was just too big for her.
Man,
and my dad was a big guy. He was 6'4", and my grandpa was 6'6", and a red-headed guy. So, I got my size from my dad's side of the family, obviously.
So then you start growing up. Are you bigger than everybody in every single class you're in?
Yeah, for a long time there. I mean, I kind of felt out of place. I was a little bit awkward socially. I was, fourth grade. I'm a foot taller than everybody, and 50, 60, 70 pounds heavier than everybody. And I was overweight, but I wasn't fat. I was big.
Right.
I remember my dad his thing was he used to cook breakfast on Sunday morning, Steve, and that was his thing. And boy, he could cook. He'd, eggs and sausage and bacon and pancakes and just anything you want, grits, and he that was his deal. And I polished off 10, 15 eggs and some pancakes, and I got up from that table, and I guess he took a look at I stood up and turned my back and stretched my hands, and I was all of about 7 or 8 years old, and he looked at me and said, "Son, you got to do something, because you're just getting too big too fast." And so he grabbed me by the wrist and took me down to Pop Warner football and signed me up. Thought that the exercise would do me good. And they said, "Well, how old is your son?" And he said, "Well, he's and I don't really remember. I was 7 or 8, and they said, well, he'd have to play with the either the 9 and 10 years old, and maybe the 10 or 11 year olds." And let me tell you something, Steve. That's a big difference when you're that age. And,
damn right it is.
I literally got the what beat out of me. I got on that scale, and they said, "You know what? He can play 10 years old, but he's going to have to lose 20 pounds to do that." So that's the ball career started, and kind of went on from there.
Okay, so you go to high school, and you're playing at Bell High School. You're All-American, you're all Los Angeles. And you were telling me that, hell, the all Los Angeles team was tougher to make than the All-American team. Was the competition, the roster of talent coming from that area that deep?
Well, buddy, let me tell you what. And Steve, I know you're from Texas, and I've had some heated conversations with people from Texas. And there's a lot of good football states and cities, Los Angeles, California. I mean, they put out a lot of good football players, and Texas is certainly one of them. But just for the record, and I understand Los Angeles has a lot of people in it. They've got over 800 high schools now, and back then it was 500 or 600 high schools. So just in sheer numbers, Los Angeles puts out more high school All-Americans, more college All-Americans, more pros, more All-Pros, and more Hall of Fame football players than any other city in the country. So we played good football, and competition breeds excellence. And I think we lost 2 football games in 4 years of my career. So we were in the city championships every year, and you could make all state, you could make all American, and you could make all conference. But the hardest team to make was that all Los Angeles team, and I was fortunate enough to make that all Los Angeles team, because like I said, there's some good football players in Los Angeles. And you look on that roster, that first team all Los Angeles team back in my era, and you'll see guys go on to college and pros and all pro and et cetera, et cetera. So